The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition is made possible by the Alaska State Council on the Arts, the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Poetry Foundation.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Phil Hibshin. I am the new Executive Director of the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. Please join me in acknowledging that we are located in the beautiful unceded lands of the Occoquan on Tlingit Ani, and we honor their stewardship of the land from time immemorial. The Juneau Arts and Humanities Council humbly offers this acknowledgement and strives to honor this gift through worthy work for our community. On behalf of the council, welcome everyone once again. Welcome to Juneau if you're visiting, and thank you for coming tonight. I'm happy to see you all here in support for the arts and the creative youth of the state of Alaska. Through our partnership with the Alaska State Council on the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, KTOO Public Media, and all of the schools we've collaborated with across the state, I'm so excited to present the 16th annual Poetry Out Loud competition to you all tonight. I'm honored to have been asked to participate and help judge in this program as we return to form from being virtual in recent years. This competition is so extremely important to our entire state in lifting, empowering, and reinforcing the voices of our young people. It's my hope that by participating, through their months of practice, training with their coaches, and everything else they've done to prepare, I can't even imagine how much you guys have worked. It's my hope that they'll be better equipped to use their voices to be strong and effective community leaders in the future. It's my privilege to introduce Alaska State Representative Sarah Hannon, who I've actually known for quite some time. She was my high school government teacher. Sorry, Mrs. Hannon. I know she places an equal amount of importance and value on programs like this in her work, and it's really my honor to share the stage with her tonight to welcome you all. You're in for such a wonderful evening. These recitations will be nothing short of inspiring. And I want to take a moment really to just congratulate all of our students for making it here tonight. It's really such an accomplishment, and you should all be so proud of yourselves already. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Representative Sarah Hannon.
Thank you, dear Phil. We are so excited that you're home and leading our Arts Council. I am so honored to be able to be here with you tonight and encourage you on your finals night. We have students from all across Alaska, from Port Ellsworth to Petersburg, from North Pole to Glen Allen. The idea of spoken word competition is so different than all of the other competitions students can choose to compete in. You know, you need a big school and a big team, but for spoken word, it depends on you. Yes, your coach, your family, your support network, but you. You are here practicing that adage that the pen is mightier than the sword. When the character of the cardinal in the English play Richelieu of the Conspiracy, written by Edward Buller Lytton, he says, "True, this, beneath the rule of men entirely great, the pen is mightier than the sword. Behold the arch enchanter's wand, itself a nothing, but taking sorcery from the master's hand to paralyze the Caesars and to strike the loud earth breathless. Take away the sword, states can be saved without it." Lytton wrote that line that lives on its own. In fact, it's inscribed on the Thomas Jefferson building at the Library of Congress. But tonight, you will remind us of the power of words to inspire us as you take to the battlefield, where you will bring light and insight into great poems that many of us have read, but tonight you will bring them to life. Break a leg. Please welcome to the stage Ben Brown, Chair of the Alaska State Council of the Arts.
Well, thanks very much to Phil and the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council and Representative Hannon and the Alaska Legislature. and all of our supporters across the great state of Alaska who support the arts in general, and the Alaska State Council on the Arts specifically. We are Alaska's state arts agency, and I've been privileged to be on the board for a very long time, longer than some of you have been alive, perhaps. We have grown by leaps and bounds. We have always been a granting organization supporting arts organizations and individual artists with modest grants, but Poetry Out Loud is one of the coolest things that has happened in my time as chairman. I wish it had been my idea. It wasn't. Dana Joyer was chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts back in 2004, and he thought, he's a poet, that this would just be something that might work. And my goodness, has it worked. It's been one of the most smashing successes for us as a state arts agency, and for every other state arts agency and every other arts agency in any of the territorial jurisdictions. So you are all part of a huge movement that has really made America a better place and has really opened the floodgates of what poetry can do to inspire young people to learn how to have poise and stage presence, but also to understand some of the deeper nuanced meanings that are contained in the words of the poems that you've learned and you're going to recite tonight. So I am just thrilled to be here. I'm so glad that we have such a great level of support across Alaska for the Alaska State Council on the Arts. We're very grateful to the governor's administration, to the legislature for that support this year and every year, because we need that to make all this happen. So I'm not going to go on and tell you how great the arts are. You're going to prove that just by performing in the way you're going to perform. I will just introduce your MC for this evening, a good friend of mine, a fellow artist and actress. We were first on the stage over at Perseverance Theater in a play where I was a minister and she was my wife named Meg, and I snapped at her all the time. Leading Ladies. It's a goofy show. And she has gone on since then to become an integral part of this event, being the MC many years before we had to pause and make it virtual. But she's also just a wonderful artist and actress and mom and good human being and delightful Alaskan, my dear friend, Allison Wade. Enjoy the show tonight.
Thank you so much, Ben. I am so excited to be here again. I feel like we've had a time warp. I was here almost exactly 3 years ago on March 12th, 2020. That day was marked in my memory, and I'm so happy to be back here today. I'm seeing this awesome, awesome night. I'm so excited. Now, my role to begin is, of course, to go over the rules and to talk about the judges, because this is a show and it's also a competition. And I'm really excited to introduce the adjudication panel in the back. They are the adjudication panel members for Poetry Out Loud Alaska 2023, beginning with Scott Burton, Rachel Disney. Oh yes, applause, Scott Burton, of course. Please. Rachel Disney. Rachel Rautiainen. Let's start that again. Let's go back to 2020 and start over. Amy Rautiainen. That's what I meant. Misty St. Clair. And of course, you know, accuracy judge Phil Hibshin. Thank you guys so much. And a little later on, I will cover them more in detail. Now, of course, the rules. Poetry Out Loud competitions must have at least 2 students to select a winner. If the winner is unable to attend the next level of competition, the runner-up should be sent. Students must be judged according to the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria from the 2022-2023 Teacher's Guide. State and national finals consist of 3 rounds of competition. Competitions at lower levels may have fewer rounds, but students must recite only 1 poem in each round. The order in which the poems are recited is up to the student, but the poem order may not be switched once given to the competition organizer. Competition organizers may not dictate poem order. Rankings are based solely on evaluation sheets submitted by the judges. Judges should not convene to discuss performances during the competition. Judges may not reconsider their scores after they are submitted. Judges' decisions are final. Scoring is cumulative. The scores from all rounds should be added together to determine the winner. In the event of a tie, the tied student with the highest overall performance score should win. If that also results in a tie, look to the highest accuracy score. If the scores remain tied, consider having students pick one poem to recite again as a separate score to break the tie. Students must recite their poem from memory. Students may not use props or wear costumes during their recitations. Okay, and now to begin round one. During round one of poetry recitation, we'll share about the young people who make up the cohort of state finalists from across Alaska. We asked them some questions about their perspectives on poetry. As you consider the Poetry Out Loud state finalists' thoughts, we encourage folks in the audience here tonight and watching in other communities to think about your own favorite poets and poems. Here we go. Brielle Lorentzen is a junior at Tenalian High School. While she's originally from North Dakota, she makes her home in Port Ellsworth, Alaska. During the school year, when not doing schoolwork, she enjoys playing volleyball and basketball. She loves playing music and writing her own poetry. After high school, she plans on going to college. Which college is yet to be decided. Brielle shared with us that if she were a poem, she sees herself as a free verse poem. Brielle's favorite poet is James Whitcomb Riley. She enjoys his poems because they are very raw and have a somewhat comforting feel to them. Her favorite poem of his is Away. If Brielle had the opportunity to write a poem for the world, she would write about change and being comfortable with change. Representing Tenalian High School in Port Ellsworth, please welcome Brielle Lorentzen.
Discrimination by Kenneth Rexroth. I don't mind the human race. I've got pretty used to them in these past 25 years. I don't mind if they sit next to me on streetcars or eat in the same restaurant, if it's not the same table. However, I don't approve of a woman I respect dancing with one of them. I've tried asking them to my home without success. I shouldn't care to see my own sister marry one. Even if she loved him, think of the children. Their art is interesting, but certainly barbarous. I'm sure if given the chance, they'd all kill us in our beds. And you must admit, they smell.
Brigitte Taanga is a 10th grade student at West Anchorage High School who is currently living in Anchorage, Alaska. Despite the COVID years, she found her way back to poetry thanks to Poetry Out Loud. She realized once again why she turned to poetry, when being an artist was not her path to go down. The questions about poetry we asked Brigitte and our other state finalists are as follows. If you were a poem, would you be a haiku, a shape, poem, epic, sonnet, or a free verse poem? If not one of these, what type of poem might you be? If you have a favorite poet, who is it? And please tell us why. And if you had an opportunity to write one poem for the world, what experience, idea, or theme might you write about? Here's what Brigitte told us. As for her love of poetry, Brigitte wishes to be a free verse poem because she would take the opportunity to be free in anything for now. Many of her favorite poems are from poets that know her well, despite not writing it for her. She looks for poems, and she recites while reading it for the first time. And if the poet's story speaks to her, then she speaks it for them. She wishes to write a poem to the world, dedicating it to her mother, who made her the person she is today, and how she is thankful she included Christ in her childhood growing up. Representing West Anchorage High School, here is Brigitte Taanga.
Time Does Not Bring Relief, You All Have Lied by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied. Who told me time would ease me of my pain? I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him at the shrinking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain. Heat in my heart, my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go. So, with his memory, they brim. And entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot or shone his face, I say, there is no memory of him here. And so stand stricken, so remembering him.
Eleanor Candle is a sophomore at Petersburg High School. She participated in Poetry Out Loud at the regional level in the 2021-2022 school year and has loved writing and reciting poems since 3rd grade. Eleanor plays the clarinet and piano in her school jazz band, concert band, pep band, and choir. She has been in the Region 5 state and all Northwest honor bands as a clarinet player. She also runs for cross country and track, plays basketball, and participates in theater. She is on the ASB board and the LeConte Glacier survey team at her school. Eleanor plays the cajon on her music team at church. She enjoys reading, playing her instruments, gathering and cataloging Southeast Alaskan plants and fungi, walking on the beach and in the forest with her dog, writing, and learning new languages. Her plans for the future include higher education with a focus on the fields of music performance, medical research, or both. If Eleanor was a poem, she would be a soliloquy. Eleanor's favorite poet is Edgar Allan Poe. She loves the drama, darkness, and structure of his poetry. She also has a similar name to Lenore, the maiden who is the subject of many of his poems. If Eleanor had the opportunity to write one poem for the world, she would write about the life and the energy of the land, music, and people around her. Representing Petersburg High School, please welcome Eleanor Candle.
Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Graham Granger has been a longtime lover of the theater. Ever since his youth, he has always loved the thought of being on stage. However, his dream of his was not realized until the start of his high school career. In his first year, he was given the opportunity to play the characters of the March Hare and Humpty Dumpty for his school play. This sparked an interest in Alice in Wonderland for him, and as such, an interest in Lewis Carroll, More specifically, Carol's most famous poem, The Jabberwocky. While this poem is nearly devoid of any meaning, it had only helped to further Graham's interest in the theatrical arts. This poem was one of the first solo performances at the school he used to attend in Georgia. He got all dressed up in a costume reminiscent of Dr. Jekyll and took his umbrella with him as he walked up on stage right after his ankle had healed after a nasty break and gave his favorite performance he had given. Throughout middle school, Graham was in the accelerated math program until he was homeschooled in 8th grade. At the start of his high school career, he took AP Government and Drama class. The other classes he attended at this time were the standard math, literature, science, and language classes. It was not until he had moved to Alaska from Georgia that Graham learned about the Poetry Out Loud program. Upon learning about this program, he became very excited for everything related to it. It allowed him to further pursue his love of performance, which his school in Alaska had been almost entirely without. This led to him placing in his local area and moving on to state in Juneau, which has been one of the most exciting things for him since he placed in state during wrestling season. If Graham were a poem, he believes that he would be a sonnet. He is nothing if not a dreamer of romantic things and feels as though a poet who specializes in sonnets such as Shakespeare would share Graham's dreams about these things. Graham's favorite poet is Lewis Carroll. His poetry is entirely nonsensical and Graham adores it. The stories Carroll weaves with made-up words are full of intrigue and wonder. If he had the opportunity to write a poem for the world, Graham would not write about any of his own experiences. Rather, he would choose to write a poem about a story of his own creation. Graham describes himself, "I am not a man of deep thoughts on the nature of things, rather a simple man who wishes to leave the world with a bizarre story." Representing Reddington Junior Senior High School in Wasilla, here is Graham Granger.
Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot that eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou groused. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Caitlin Stiles is currently in 11th grade and is a student at Thunder Mountain High School. She has lived in Washington, D.C., Florida, Michigan, Virginia, and now Juneau, where she's been her happiest. She's never thought of herself as a poetry person, but when her teacher presented an extra credit opportunity if she participated in Poetry Out Loud, she quickly signed up and gained a love for poetry. Caitlin loves art and is hoping to join the medical field in the future. If she were a poem, Caitlin said she would be her favorite type, a form of narrative poetry, ones that tell stories that you can easily imagine. Caitlin's favorite poet is Camille T. Dungy, her favorite poem of Dungy's being Requiem. Dungy uses metaphors and beautiful imagery to communicate powerful stories through poetry. If she had an opportunity to write one poem for the world, Caitlin would write a poem speaking about making connections with others and making friends along the way. Representing Thunder Mountain High School in Juneau, Please welcome Caitlin Stiles.
The world is about to end, and my grandparents are in love, by Kara Jackson. Still, living like they orbit one another, my grandfather, the planet, and grandma, his moon assigned by some gravitational pull they have loved long enough for a working man to retire. Grandma says she's not tired. She wears her husband like a coat that survives every season, talks about him the way my parents talk about vinyl, the subject salvaged by the tent of their tongues. Grandma returns to her love like a hymn, marks it with a color. When the world ends, will it suck the earth of all its love? Will I go taking somebody's hand, my skin becoming their skin? The digital age is taking away our winters, and I'm afraid the sun is my soulmate. That waste waits for a wet kiss. Carbon calls me pretty, and I think death is a good first date. I hope when the world ends, it leaves them be. Spares Grandpa and his game, Grandma spinning corn into weight, the two of them reeling into Western theme songs. The TV louder than whatever's coming.
Madeline Bremer is a senior from North Pole High School with a passion for learning, music, and theater. Maddie strives to graduate with honors by taking AP classes specializing in liberal arts and sciences, and has been performing in many different capacities since she was 6. This includes Fairbanks Light Opera Theater productions, elementary to high school band, and jazz a cappella choir. She has also enjoyed competing as a goalie in the all-girls hockey team for the past 6 years. Always striving for extracurriculars, Maddie first got into Poetry Out Loud because of her teacher, Ms. Alexander, who helped her compete online after winning locally in 2021. She's been to State Poetry Out Loud once before and proudly gained the title of runner-up in 2022. Maddie is so grateful to have this opportunity again to compete for State in Juneau, where coincidentally, she plans to attend college in the fall for their outdoor studies program. If Maddie were a poem, she would be a sob story sonnet, because drama is always the answer. Maddie's favorite poet is Amy Nuzuku Mutatil, an American poet whose current work sits on her bedside table. If Maddie had one opportunity to write a poem for the world, it would be about the idea of coming together, making amends, and growing up to become a better person than you were before. Representing North Pole High School, please welcome Madeline Bremer.
Insect by Annie Finch. That hour-glass-backed, orchard-legged, heavy-headed will. Paper-folded, wedge-contorted, savage, dense to kill. Pulls back on backward moving, arching, high legs still, lowered through a deep, knees reaching, feathered down, green will. Antenna honest, thread descending, carpeted as if with skill, a focus changing, sober reaching, tracing, killing will.
Mina Yee is from Skagway, and she is in 8th grade. She is currently taking a high school English class, and this is her first year participating in Poetry Out Loud. Mina plays violin in the White Horse Orchestra and tours around the Yukon area playing some of her favorite classical pieces. When she's not in school, Mina enjoys hiking the local trails and fishing in nearby lakes, as well as multi-day wilderness canoe adventures with her family. She also enjoys winter sports, including skiing and ice skating. When she is not outdoors, she is usually found reading a book in front of a wood stove with a cup of tea in her hand, playing card games with her family, or watching a movie. Traveling is another passion of hers, and she has been collecting flags from the countries she has visited. She plans on traveling more in the future. Mina would describe herself as a tirza rima. In this kind of poem, all of the stanzas are linked through the rhyming pattern. Mina relates to this kind of poem to different sections of her life, saying that all of her life is connected and no part is separate from another. Mina's favorite poet is Shel Silverstein. She enjoys his wit and humor. If Mina were to have the opportunity to write a poem for the world, she would write about the circle of life and death in nature. Representing Skagway School, here is Mina Yee.
The Kiss by Robert Graves. Are you shaken? Are you stirred by a whisper of love? Spellbound to a word, does time cease to move till her calm gray eye expands to a sky and the clouds of her hair like storms go by? Then the lips that you have kissed turn to frost and fire, and a white steaming mist obscures desire. So back to their birth fade water, air, earth, and the first power moves over void and dearth. Is that love? No, but death, a passion, a shout, the deep in breath, the breath roaring out. And once that is flown, you must lie alone, without hope, without life, poor flesh, sad bone.
Silas Summers is 15 and a sophomore in high school. He skipped 8th grade and he is dually enrolled in the University of Alaska. He has been at least a little interested in poetry for as long as he can remember, but his interest grew a lot during the second half of 2022. Outside of poetry, Silas enjoys video games, animated movies, and music. He also enjoys reading different things outside of poetry, like philosophy or young adult fiction. He doesn't have any concrete plans for the future, but there are a few things he would want from his future. He enjoys making music and writing songs, and he thinks it would be cool if he were to get one of his songs good enough for him to publish. Luckily, he's done research on how to get his music onto music platforms, and he knows how it could be done. He also started writing a book that he might try to finish and publish. Silas told us, "I might be a free verse poem in the style of Walt Whitman. I can't really say why, but I feel like I don't have the sort of structural limits as other poems." Silas' favorite poet is Emily Dickinson because of the themes and her odd, unconventional syntax. Representing upstream learning in Glen Allen, please welcome Silas Summers.
Broadcast rights for this poem have not been granted for this event.
Thea Person is a senior at Homer High School, where she is a member of the choir and the drama debate and forensics team. They love to sing and are currently involved in a production of the musical Newsies. She is even missing part of Tech Week to be here, much to the chagrin of her directors. Her favorite hobbies are downhill skiing, experimenting with sourdough, and spending time with her friends. Next fall, they plan to attend the University of Alaska Fairbanks to study history and art. She would like to thank her family, friends, and teachers for encouraging and supporting her all the time. If Thea were a type of poem, she says, I would be a sestina. Sestinas have a lot of structure, but that structure only makes sense to a couple of people. They are complicated but fun in their own way. She says, my favorite poet is Wilfred Owen. In 10th grade, I did a research project on him for language arts. His story is tragic, and his life experience is reflected in his poetry in a way that I find beautiful. She also says, I would write about mental health and recovery. I have used poetry to express my thoughts about it before, and I feel it might show some people that they are not alone. Representing Homer High School, here is Thea Person.
Figure by Robert Wrigley. You want a piece of me, to see from the flesh of me a flesh from within me no one's ever seen. Not me, nor the mother or the lovers of me, a piece that will have been me, but then no longer me. Instead, a synecdoche of me, or possibly monotony, a figure of speech of me, in contiguity or association with me. A part for the whole of me, a sliver that once was me, so you might perceive the end of me.
Violet Bowie is 15 years old and is currently attending West Anchorage High School in Anchorage. He first started writing poetry in 4th grade, and his love for the art form grew over time. Because of this, he was excited to learn that his high school had a poetry reading competition. His first year attempting poetry out loud, he didn't even make it past a classroom competition. But this year, he came back more determined than ever and was able to make it to the state competition. In his spare time, he enjoys writing, playing the banjo, participating in Battle of Books at his school, and playing the double bass in the Anchorage Youth Symphony. In the future, he intends to go to school to pursue a master's in library science. Violet would like to believe that he's a sonnet, but admits that he's not laid back enough and is probably more of an epic. If he had to choose one poem as his favorite, Violet would probably choose Emily Dickinson because her poems have such vivid imagery and emotion. If he were to write a poem for the world, Violet would write about the importance of expressing yourself honestly. Representing West Anchorage High School, please welcome Violet Bowie.
Luke Havergal by Edwin Arlington Robinson. Go to the western gate, Luke Havergal, there where the vines cling, crimson, on the wall, and in the twilight, wait for what will come. The leaves will whisper there of her, and some like flying words will strike you as they fall. But go, and if you listen, she will call. Go to the western gate, Luke Havergal, Luke Havergal. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies to rift the fiery night that's in your eyes, but there where western glooms are gathering, the dark will end the dark if anything, God slays himself with every leaf that flies, and hell is more than half of paradise. No, there is not a dawn in eastern skies. In eastern skies. Out of a grave I come to tell you this. Out of a grave I come to quench the kiss that flames upon your forehead with a glow that blinds you to the way that you must go. Yes, there is yet one way to where she is. Bitter, but one that faith may never miss. Out of a grave I come to tell you this, to tell you this. There is the western gate, Luke Havergal. There are the crimson leaves upon the wall. Go, for the winds are tearing them away, nor think to riddle the dead words they say, nor any more to feel them as they fall, but go. And if you trust her, she will call. There is the western gate, Luke Havergal. Luke Havergal.
Okay, this completes the first round of the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition for 2023. In round one, we heard each of our state finalists, so how about another round of applause? Personally, I have been so moved. I've had to check myself a little bit. I am infinitely impressed, and I can't wait for the next two rounds. We have also loved hearing your perspectives on poetry. I'm thinking already which poet is my favorite and what kind of poem I would be. If you are watching at home, we encourage you to share your support for these 10 outstanding Alaska students by using the hashtag AlaskaPOL on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and other social media outlets. Getting support for students from all over the state feels so good. I, just like I said, continue to be immensely impressed year after year. This year, to me, is above and beyond. I can't wait to hear what you have coming up. So, during round two, in between each poem, I'll tell you a little bit about our judging panel and about Poetry Out Loud program history, partners, structure, and criteria. So, to start round two, please welcome once again from Tenalian High School in Port Alsworth, Brielle Lorentzen.
Mezzocamine by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Half of my life is gone, and I have let the years slip from me and have not fulfilled the aspiration of my youth, to build some tower of song with lofty parapet, not indolence, nor pleasure, nor the fret of restless passions that would not be stilled, but sorrow and a care that almost killed, kept me from what I may accomplish yet. Though halfway up the hill I see the past lying beneath me with its sounds and its sights, a city in the twilight, dim and vast, with smoking roofs, soft bells, and gleaming lights. And here above me, on the autumnal blast, the cataract of death, far thundering from the heights. Thank you very much.
Poetry Out Loud is a national arts education program that encourages the study of great poetry by offering free educational materials and a dynamic recitation competition to high schools across the country. This program helps students master public speaking skills, build self-confidence, and learn about literary history and contemporary life. At the national level, Poetry Out Loud is a partnership of the National Endowment for the Arts, Poetry Foundation, and the state and jurisdictional arts agencies. The National Endowment for the Arts was established by Congress in 1965 as an independent federal agency whose funding and support gives Americans the opportunity to participate in the arts, exercise their imaginations, and develop their creative capacities. Through partnerships with state art agencies, local leaders, other federal agencies, and the philanthropic sector, the Arts Endowment supports arts learning, affirms and celebrates America's rich and diverse cultural heritage, and extends its work to promote equal access to the arts in every community across America. The Poetry Foundation, publisher of Poetry Magazine, is an independent literary organization committed to a vigorous presence for poetry in our culture. It has embarked on an ambitious plan to bring the best poetry before the largest possible audiences. And now, here to recite their next poem from West Anchorage High School, here is Brigitte Taanga.
Sun Daughter by Kai Conradi. In a dream, my dad fell from the top of a steep white mountain down into a blue crevasse, like the space between two waves where the light shines through just enough to tell you you will miss this life dearly. The falling took years. I could hear him moving through air, and then finally, nothing. In another dream, my dad was an angel, his see-through body dangling in the air, floating above me, face shimmery like tinfoil. And I cried and cried when he told me, I can't come back to Earth now, not ever. When my dad told me, you will always be my daughter, maybe it was like that. Will I be allowed to come back to Earth and be your son?
The Alaska State Council on the Arts is a public corporation administratively housed within the State of Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. The mission of the Alaska State Council on the Arts is to represent, support, and advance the creative endeavors of individuals, organizations, and agencies throughout Alaska. They fulfill that mission through grants, services, and partnerships, and have been a part of Alaska state government since 1966, when Governor Bill Egan signed the enabling statute into law. The Alaska State Council on the Arts and the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council have worked together on Alaska Poetry Out Loud since the program started in our state. The Juneau Arts and Humanities Council incorporated in 1973, and it's the official arts and humanities agency in the city and borough of Juneau, Alaska. The JAC operates the Juneau Arts and Culture Center and Centennial Hall facilities under agreements with the city and borough of Juneau to foster a vibrant arts and cultural environment and enhance the local economy. These operations provide venues for concerts and events, a rotating gallery, and a lobby gift shop. The council offers programming in performance, visual, literary, and arts education, as well as grants, scholarships, and helpful resources for local artists. The Juneau Arts and Humanities Council is a leader in building a strong, prosperous community where creativity and innovation thrive. And of course, KTOO has been a wonderful hosting partner for the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition for the last several years. We are grateful that KTOO helps us to connect the state competition in Juneau with the rest of Alaska, and we hope families and friends are watching from home. Don't forget to use the hashtag AlaskaPOL to share your good thoughts with our state finalists on social media. And now, please welcome our next finalist, representing Petersburg High School, Eleanor Candle.
Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on that sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Poetry Out Loud uses a pyramid structure that starts at the classroom level. Winners advance to a school-wide competition, then to a regional or state competition, and ultimately to the national finals. Awards and placements are determined solely by the judges' scores based on the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria. Each winner at the state level receives $200 and an all-expenses-paid trip with an adult chaperone to Washington, D.C. to compete for the national championship. The state winner's school receives $500 for the purchase of poetry materials. The first runner-up in each state receives $100 with $200 for their school. At the national finals, a total of $50,000 in awards and school stipends is awarded annually. The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud program has sent a state champion to the national level competition every year since 2005. Students gather for 3 days in Washington, D.C. and compete in the regional semifinals, advancing to the final round. In 2015, the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud champion, Mava Ordaz, was named the National Poetry Out Loud champion. On May 8th through the 10th, the 2023 Alaska State Poetry Out Loud champion will join 54 other state and jurisdictional champions in Washington, D.C. for the national competition. And now, representing Reddington Junior Senior High School in Wasilla, again, here is Graham Granger.
Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground with walls and towers were girdled round, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And here were forests ancient as the hills, enfolding in sunny spots of greenery. But oh, that deep, romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover, a savage place, as holy and enchanted as air beneath the waning moon was haunted by woman wailing for her demon lover. And from this chasm with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if the earth in fast, thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift, half-intermitted burst huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And mid these dancing rocks at once and ever it flung up momently the sacred river. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion through wood and dale the sacred river ran. Then reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean, and mid this tumult Kubla heard from far ancestral voices prophesying war. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. A damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abora. Could I revive within me her symphony and song, to such a deep delight 'twould win me, that with music loud and long I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice, and all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware, his flashing eyes, his floating hair. Weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes in holy dread, for he on honeydew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise.
Poetry Out Loud provides free curriculum materials, including the online poetry anthology, a comprehensive teacher's guide, video of student performances, lesson plans, and promotional and media resources. Hard copies of materials are available for teachers participating in the official program, but anyone can access the online materials at poetryoutloud.org. After schools register with their state arts agency, materials are sent to participating high schools on a rolling basis, and the program is run through winter. Historically in Alaska, there are in-person regional competitions where students are able to travel to compete together, and there is a video-adjudicated regional competition coordinated by the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. In 2021 and 22, the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud program went entirely virtual, and the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud partners worked together with local schools, individual students, teachers, panelists, and advisors to build opportunities based on the video adjudication process that Alaska offered in the past. We're especially grateful to KTOO Public Media for helping to make this possible during such a challenging time. The creativity and thoughtfulness of the team here is inspiring, and we're glad to be back in the KTOO studio this year. The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud partnership is guided by the following long-term goals. 1, to increase awareness of poetry and of the work of the National Endowment for the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, the Alaska State Council on the Arts, and program partners. 2, connect wildly separated communities through a common endeavor. And 3, give teachers throughout the state meaningful and useful tools for their classrooms and inspire students through the recitation of poetry. And now, representing Thunder Mountain High School in Juneau, please welcome back Caitlin Stiles.
No, I wasn't meant to love and be loved, by Mirza Azadullah Khan Ghalib, translated by Vijay Seshadri. No, I wasn't meant to love and be loved. If I'd lived longer, I would have waited longer. Knowing you are faithless keeps me alive and hungry. Knowing you faithful would kill me with joy. Delicate are you, and your vows are delicate too, so easily do they break. You are a laconic marksman. You leave me not dead, but perpetually dying. I want my friends to heal me, succor me. Instead, I get analysis. Conflagrations that would make stones drip blood are campfires compared to my anguish. Two-headed, inescapable anguish, love's anguish, or the anguish of time, another dark, severing, incommunicable night. Death would be fine if I'd only died once. I would have liked a solitary death, not this lavish funeral, this grave anyone can visit. You are mystical, Galib. And also you speak beautifully. Are you a saint or just drunk as usual?
As we continue, we'll learn about our adjudication panel for this year's Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition. A hearty thanks to these dedicated, accomplished, and community-minded individuals for supporting Alaska's young people through your participation in this process. We also send out our great thanks to our Alaska Regional Poetry Out Loud adjudicators from across the state who gathered virtually to advance students to the state finals via our regional video recitation competition. In 2023, our Alaska Regional Poetry Out Loud panelists include Mahogany Magnetic, Lauren Scantleberry, Avery Herman Sakamoto, Jennifer Norton, Scott Bartlett, Aaron Willahan, Trevor Townsend, and Nancy DeChierney. Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition evaluation judge, Scott Burton, is a Juneau-based multidisciplinary artist and educator who works in audio, videography, and documentary filmmaking. He's thankful and honored to live and work on Tlingit-Ani. He enjoys spending time with his life partner, Brooke, playing bluegrass-inspired country music, gardening, cooking, cycling, designing, making quasi-functional sculpture, cross-country skiing, studying the Tlingit language, and embracing clean energy. He's currently working on a documentary titled Earnest Drinker, a film about relationships with alcohol. Please watch the trailer at earnestdrinker.com, and I'm also in the movie. He has a master's degree in creative writing. As a writer of prose, he's always admired the poet's artistic efficiency with words, and it brings to mind a metaphor he once heard. If an essay or short story is a cool glass of water, then pour a bit of that water onto a red-hot skillet. Poetry is the steam. And now, representing North Pole High School, here is Madeline Bremer.
Suppose, by Phoebe Carey. Suppose, my little lady, your doll should break her head. Could you make it whole by crying till your eyes and nose are red? And wouldn't it be pleasanter to treat it as a joke and say you're glad 'twas Dolly's and not your head that broke? Suppose you're dressed for walking and the rain comes pouring down. Will it clear off any sooner because you scold and frown? And wouldn't it be nicer for you to smile than pout, and so make sunshine in the house when there is none without? Suppose your task, my little man, is very hard to get. Will it make it any easier for you to sit and fret? And wouldn't it be wiser than waiting like a dunce to go to work in earnest and learn the thing at once? Suppose that some boys have a horse and some a coach and pair. Will it tire you less while walking to say it isn't fair? And wouldn't it be nobler to keep your temper? Sweet, and in your heart be thankful you can walk upon your feet. And suppose the world don't please you, nor the way some people do. Do you think the whole creation will be altered just for you? And isn't it, my boy or girl, the wisest, bravest plan? Whatever comes or doesn't come, to do the best you can.
The evaluation judges for Poetry Out Loud consider the following criteria: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. Judging a Poetry Out Loud contest differs in several important ways from judging a poetry slam or original poetry contest. Students' recitations must be assessed according to the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria, and scores must be determined by the official contest evaluation sheet. Thank you also to our scorekeepers for this evening, Reggie Schapp and Ruth Frost. Poetry Out Loud contestants recite poems written by others, so it's important that they convey a tone and mood appropriate to the selected work. Evaluation judge Rachel Disney grew up in Georgia and was destined to be a writer, winning numerous local and collegiate writing competitions as a young adult. Given the hard and often unappreciated life of a poet, she decided to direct her energy to a more reliable career in acting, receiving her degree in theater arts in 2007. She then found her way to Alaska in search of snow and glaciers and honed her public speaking skills by guiding tours through Southeast Alaska before becoming a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. She currently works for the local nonprofit Juneau Jazz and Classics as operations assistant, helping to organize and promote music events. She also acts as executive assistant to Lily Hope, renowned Chilkat weaver and artist. When Rachel is not busy supporting and uplifting artists, she is writing and recording her own personal projects. You might hear her voice on recordings for LibriVox or read her poems on Juneau's public transit system. Rachel has worked in many different fields and worn many hats, but her love of art continues to bring her back to her passions: writing, theater, and voice. And now, representing Skagway School, please welcome once again to the stage Mina Yee.
Break, Break, Break by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Break, break, break on thy cold gray stones, O sea, and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. But, oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea, but the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me.
In the third evaluation judging seat is Amy Rautiainen. Amy is a graphic designer and a teaching artist and has spent the last 8 years as the Artful Teaching Coordinator for the Juneau School District. She delights in spending her days in classrooms, seeing students take risks, collaborate, and express themselves and their understanding of the world around them through the arts. For this work, She was honored to receive the Kathy Ruddy Award for the Arts in 2021 and the Alaska Arts Education Consortium Arts Leader Champion in 2022. Amy is passionate about nurturing and honoring students and teachers as creators, scholars, and change makers, and is grateful to live and raise her 2 children on Tlingit Ani. She apologizes in advance for crying during your performance and assures you they are tears of awe and joy. She says gunash chish to all the students participating today and to all the communities that supported them on their journey here. Evaluation judges are given rubrics where they score each recitation immediately after a student finishes, and once the recitation is scored, that score is final. Of the criteria we mentioned before, voice and articulation refers to the student's pace, rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of the text in the poems. Physical presence is about body language and poise. Recitation is about conveying a poem's sense with its language, and the criteria of dramatic appropriateness speaks to this concept. Appropriate interpretation enhances the audience's understanding and enjoyment of the poem without overshadowing the poem's language. Evidence of understanding is a reflection on students' comprehension and mastery of a poem. The poet's words should take precedence, and students should be able to voice them in a way that helps the audience to understand the poem better. For more detail about the evaluation criteria our judges are using as they watch and listen to these recitations, we encourage you all to visit poetryoutloud.org. And now, representing upstream learning in Glen Allen, once again, here is Silas Summers.
A Poison Tree by William Blake. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears. And I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning, glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree.
Our fourth evaluation judge this evening is Misty St. Clair. Misty is the author of the chapbook This Morning is Different, an Alaska Literary Award grantee, and has poems forthcoming in or has been published by The Common, Northwest Review, and more. She was born in Fairbanks and raised between Fairbanks and Anchorage. She has spent most of her life in Alaska with a few years here and there in other parts of the Pacific Northwest. Misty loves to travel, read, write, cook, hike, and spend time with her 2 nearly grown children. She lives with her family and border collie in Juneau, where she works for the Alaska State Legislature. Me too. We've discussed all the criteria with the exception of overall performance. This criteria invites the panelists to assess the student's recitation from the perspective of its whole effect and impact. That is, the degree to which the recitation becomes greater than the sum of its parts. When considering the overall performance of a poetry recitation, the judges must ask each recitation, did the performance captivate the audience with the language of the poem? Did it bring the audience to a better understanding of the poem? Did the student's physical presence, voice and articulation, and dramatic appropriateness all seem on target and unified to breathe life into the poem? Did the performance honor the poem? Panelists may also consider the complexity of the poem and the range of recitations for each student within this criteria. Poetry Out Loud offers the following advice to students in reflection of overall performance. Make sure each poem you choose is one that speaks to you. If you are able to connect with a poem, that internalization will ripple positively throughout all of your scores. For more detail about the evaluation criteria our judges are using as they watch and listen to these recitations, we encourage folks to visit poetryoutloud.org. And now, representing Homer High School, please welcome Thea Person.
Hunger for Something by Chase Twitchell. Sometimes I long to be the woodpile, cut apart trees soon to be smoke, or even the smoke itself. Sinewy ghost of ash and air going wherever I want to, at least for a while. Neither inside nor out, neither lost nor home. No longer a shape or a name, I'd pass through all the broken windows of the world. It's not a wish for consciousness to end. It's not the appetite an army has for its own emptying heart, but a hunger to stand now and then, alone on the death grounds where the dogs of the self are feeding.
Each panel of judges has only one accuracy judge. Accuracy is the first element of a recitation. The task for the student is to keep the poet's language intact for the audience. Given that accuracy is the foundation of a good recitation, serving as an accuracy judge is a critical component of the evaluation process. Our Alaska State accuracy judge, Phil Hibshin, was born and raised in Juneau and has recently returned to his hometown to serve as the executive director for the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. His career in fundraising and community engagement has taken him steadily down the West Coast, having worked in cultural institutions such as the Frye Art Museum, the Seattle Aquarium, the Colburn School, and most recently as the associate director for the UCLA Chancellor's Society. Through his work at the JAC, Phil hopes to connect his community members with arts programs that have the capacity to positively impact the quality of life for all Juneau residents. It has been a wonderful experience for Phil to return to Juneau and immediately be welcomed and reintroduced to major entities in the arts community, including his invitation to be a part of the Poetry Out Loud program. He is extremely excited and grateful to be back in Southeast Alaska and is very much looking forward to bolstering the local arts and humanities with our partnership. And now, representing West Anchorage High School, please welcome back Violet Bowie.
The Bookshelf of the God of Infinite Space by Jeffrey Skinner. You would expect an uncountable number, acres and acres of books in rows like wheat or gold bullion, or that the words just appear in the mind like banner headlines. In fact, there is one shelf holding a modest number, 10 or 12 volumes. No dust jackets because no dust. Covers made of gold or skin or golden skin or creosote or rain-soaked macadam or some mix of salt and glass. You turn a page and mountains rise, clouds drawn by children bubble in the sky. You are 20 again, trying to read a map, dissolving in your hands. I say you and mean me. Say God and mean librarian, who, after long research, offers you a glass of water and an apple. You, grateful to discover your name, a footnote in that book.
Incredible. You are all amazing to me, and I can't wait for the third round. How about another round of applause for them? You did it. You did your 2 poems. You can breathe a sigh of relief, right? So now it is time to take a break so the judges can deliberate to determine the finalists for the third round. So we'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Welcome back. Now, oh yes. This is the third round of the Poetry Out Loud competition. And in this round, I'm going to announce 5 finalists who will recite their third poem. And then after those 5 finalists have recited their poems, the judges will go and deliberate. Now, lucky for us, there are still 5 more who will be able to recite the poems that, because every student has 3 poems that they will recite, and so the remaining 5 will be able to recite their poems. So you'll get to hear everyone. So I'm going to announce the 5 finalists for round 3. The first one is Brigitte Taanga. The next finalist is Caitlin Stiles. The next finalist is Madeline Bremer. The next finalist is Thea Person. And the last finalist is Violet Bowie. Congratulations, finalists. And how about another round of applause? Congratulations, everyone, once again for making it this far. So, to start round 3, once again from West Anchorage High School, please welcome Brigitte Taanga.
Learning to Read by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Very soon, the Yankee teachers came down and set up school. But oh, how the Rebs did hate it. It was again their rule. Our masters always try to hide book learning from our eyes. Knowledge didn't agree with slavery. 'Twould make us all too wise. But some of us would try to steal a little from the book and put the words together and learn by hook or crook. I remember Uncle Caldwell, who took pot liquor fat and greased the pages of his book and hid it in his hat. And had his master ever seen the leaves upon his head, he'd have thought them greasy papers, but nothing to be read. And there was Mr. Turner's bed, who heard the children spell and picked the words right up by heart and learned to read them well. Well, the northern folks kept sending the Yankee teachers down, and they stood right up and helped us, though Rebs did sneer and frown. And I longed to read my Bible, for precious words is said, but when I begun to learn it, folks just shook their heads and said, "There's no use trying. Oh, Chloe, you're too late." But as I was rising 60, I had no time to wait. So I got a pair of glasses, and straight to work I went and never stopped till I could read the hymns and testament. Then I got a little cabin, a place to call my own, and I felt independent as the queen upon her throne.
So Laura, who asked me to MC, we were talking about things that I could talk about in round 3, and she was like, "Why don't you talk about your favorite poet?" And I was like, "I don't know any poets," which is not true. I sat there and figured it out. So when I was a kid, my favorite poet was Shel Silverstein, I think. And I liked him so much, I had the book Where the Sidewalk Ends in my backpack with a banana for about 2 months. And I still have that book covered in banana. So next up, representing Thunder Mountain High School, please welcome Caitlin Stiles.
What Women Are Made Of by Bianca Lynn Spriggs. There are many kinds of open. Audre Lorde. We are all ventricle, spine, lung, larynx, and gut, clavicle and nape, what lies forked in an open palm. We are follicle and temple. We are ankle, arch, sole, pore, and rib, pelvis and root, and tongue. We are wishbone and gland and molar and cornea, areola, pigment, melanin, and nails, varicose, cellulite, divining rod, sinew and tissue, saliva, and silt. We are blood and salt, clay and aquifer. We are breath and flame and stratosphere, palimpsest and biblio and cloisonne fine lines, marigold, hydrangea and dimple, nightlight, satellite, and stubble. We are pinnacle, plummet, dark circles, and dark matter. A constellation of freckles and specters and miracles and lashes, both bent and erect. We are all give and give back. We are volta and girder. Make an incision in our nectary, and painted ladies sail forth, riding the back of a warm wind, plumed with love, and things like love. Crack us down to the marrow, and you may find us full of cicada husks and sand dollars and salted maple taffy, wary of welding together our daydreams. Our intestinal fortitude? Cumulonimbus streaked with saffron light. Our foundation? Not in our limbs or hips. This comes first as an amen, a hallelujah, a suckling, swaddled psalm sung at the cosmos' breast. You want to know what women are made of? Open wide and find out.
I think in my digging for believing that I don't know any poets, I can't believe I just said that on TV, makes me realize that I probably should have had poetry out loud as a kid. Put all those poets in there so it's not just Shel Silverstein. And don't worry, I had a great education. I went to college. But I think as an adult, probably my favorite poet would be Mary Oliver. She writes about nature, and, you know, if my brain didn't feel so empty, I would remember one of her poems. But, so anyway, enough about me, more about me later. Please welcome back to the stage from North Pole High School, Madeline Bremer.
Self-Inquiry Before the Job Interview by Gary Soto. Did you sneeze? Yes. I rid myself of the imposter inside me. Did you iron your shirt? Yes. I used the steam of mother's hate. Did you wash your hands? Yes. I learned my hygiene from a raccoon. I prayed on my knees, and my knees answered with pain. I gargled. I polished my shoes until I saw who I was. I inflated my resume by employing my middle name. I walked to my interview, early, the sun like a ring on an electric stove. I patted my hair when I entered the wind of a revolving door. The guard said, for a guy like you, it's the 19th floor. The economy was up.
Flags whipped in every city plaza in America. This I saw for myself as I rode the elevator because everyone had a job but me. Did you clean your ears? Yes, I heard my fate in the drinking fountain's idiotic drivel. Did you slice a banana into your daily mush? I added a pinch of salt, 2 raisins to sweeten my breath. Did you remember your pen? I remembered my fingers when the elevator opened. I shook hands that dripped like a dirty sea. I found a chair and desk. My name tag said my name. Through the glass ceiling, I saw the heavy rumps of CEOs. Outside my window, the sun was a burning stove. All of us pushing papers to keep it going. Thank you.
Since I'm on this train of believing that I can be in Poetry Out Loud as well, thinking about what type of poem I would write, it would probably be free form, because I can't remember exactly what a haiku is. It 353? 575. See, exactly, free form. And it would be really fast. It would probably be something like, I don't remember, or something like that. Our next is from Homer High School, Thea Person.
The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the sea sands damp and brown, the traveler hastens towards the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in the darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands. And the tide rises, the tide falls. The morning breaks. The steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but never more returns the traveler to the shore. And the tide rises, the tide falls.
If I were to write a poem about anything, it would probably be about my clear lack of poetry education. So, now the last finalist returning to the stage from West Anchorage High School is Violet Bowie.
After Apple Picking by Robert Frost. My long, two-pointed ladders sticking through a tree toward heaven still. And there's a barrel that I didn't fill beside it, and there may be 2 or 3 apples I didn't pick upon some bough, but I am done with apple picking now. Essence of winter sleep is on the night, the scent of apples. I am drowsy enough. I cannot rub the strangeness from my sight I got from looking through a pane of glass I skimmed this morning from the drinking trough and held against the world of hoary grass. It melted, and I let it fall and break, but I was well upon my way to sleep before it fell, and I could tell what form my dreaming was about to take. Magnified apples appear and disappear, stem end and blossom end, and every fleck of russet showing clear. My instep arch not only keeps the ache, it keeps the pressure of a ladder round. I feel the ladder sway as the boughs bend, and I keep hearing from the cellar bin the rumbling sound of load on load of apples coming in. For I have had too much of apple picking. I am overtired of the great harvest I myself desired. There were 10,000 fruit to touch, cherish in hand, lift down and not let fall, for all that struck the earth, no matter if not bruised or spiked with stubble, went surely to the cider apple heap as of no worth. One can see what will trouble this sleep of mine, whatever sleep it is. Were he not gone, the woodchuck could say whether it's like his long sleep, as I describe its coming on, or just some human sleep.
How about another round of applause for our friends? Now I am so excited because we get to hear the third poem of everyone. So please welcome back to the stage from Tenalian School in Port Ellsworth, Brielle Lorentzen.
1969 by Alex Dimitrov. The summer everyone left for the moon, even those yet to be born, and the dead who can't vacation here, but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The #1 song in America was "In the Year 2525." Because who has ever lived in the present when there's so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover won't need to forgive you and surely take everything off your hands without having to ask, without knowing your name, no matter the number of times you married or didn't, your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, and now to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth, when we all briefly left it to look back on one another from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river. And whatever language is good for, a sign, a message left up there that reads, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." Then returned to continue the war.
So I just want to highlight a couple of previous year's winners. In both 2020 and 2021, Asia Gibson of West Anchorage High School was the Alaska State Champion. In 2022, Nikolai Chavez of Whitestone High School was the Alaska State Champion. Both competitors represented the state of Alaska with honor and skill, working with the National Poetry Out Loud program through an online process. And in Alaska, there have historically been 4 regions with enough population and registration to hold in-person regional competitions. Anchorage School District, Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, Mat-Su Borough School District, and Juneau School District. For communities across the state that don't have more than one high school within a distance to come together in person, there is a video adjudication process. Schools from each region send videos of their school representatives to a panel of judges in Juneau. Prior to the pandemic, this was unique to the state of Alaska. But in the last 3 years, many regional, state, and national competitions went online, so Alaska leads the way. We continued the online regional this year in Alaska, and we have also continued to connect our Alaska State finalists with online coaches in advance of coming together in Juneau. Yesterday, Alaska State finalists and their coaches met together to work on preparation in the afternoon and get to know each other. So our next recitation will be, again, from Petersburg High School, Eleanor Candle.
What Women Are Made Of by Bianca Lynn Spriggs. There are many kinds of open. Audre Lorde. We are all ventricle, spine, lung, larynx, and gut, clavicle and nape, what lies forked in an open palm. We are follicle and temple. We are ankle, arch, sole, pore and rib, pelvis and root and tongue. We are wishbone and gland and molar and lobe. We are hippocampus and exposed nerve and cornea, areola, pigment, melanin, and nails, varicose, cellulite, divining rod, sinew and tissue, saliva and silt. We are blood and salt, clay and aquifer. We are breath and flame and stratosphere, palimpsest and bibelot and cloisonne fine lines, marigold, hydrangea and dimple, nightlight, satellite and stubble. We are pinnacle, plummet, dark circles and dark matter, a constellation of freckles and specters and miracles and lashes. Both bent and erect, we are all give and give back. We are volta and girder. Make an incision in our nectary and painted ladies sail forth, riding the back of a warm wind, plumed with love and things like love, crack us down to the marrow, and you may find us full of cicada husks and sand dollars and salted maple taffy, weary of welding together our daydreams. All sweet tea, razor blades, carbon, and patchwork quilts of good God and Lord have mercy. Our hands remember how to turn the earth before we do. Our intestinal fortitude? Cumulonimbus, streaked with saffron light. Our foundation? Not in our limbs or hips. This comes first as an amen, a hallelujah, a suckling, swaddled psalm sung at the cosmos's breast. You want to know what women are made of? Open wide and find out.
Please welcome back to the stage from Reddington Junior Senior High School in Wasilla, Graham Granger.
A Boat Beneath a Sunny Sky by Lewis Carroll. A boat beneath the sunny sky, lingering onwards dreamily through an evening of July. Children three that nestle near, eager eye and willing ear, pleased a simple tale to hear. Long has paled that sunny sky, echoes fade and memories die. Autumn frosts have slain July, still she haunts me phantom-wise, Alice moving under skies never seen by waking eyes. Children yet the tale to hear, eager eye and willing ear, lovingly they nestle near. In a wonderland they lie, dreaming as the days go by, dreaming as the summers die, ever drifting down the stream, lingering in that golden gleam. Life, what is it but a dream?
Representing Skagway School, please welcome back Mina Yee.
Enough by Susan Buffum. I am wearing dark glasses inside the house to match my dark mood. I have left all the sugar out of the pie. My rage is a kind of domestic rage. I learned it from my mother, who learned it from her mother before her, and so on. Surely the Greeks had a word for this. Now, surely the Germans do. The more words a person knows to describe her private sufferings, the more distantly she can perceive them. I repeat the names of all the cities I've known and watch an ant drag its crooked shadow home. What does it mean to love the life we've been given? To act well the part that's been cast for us? Wind, light, fire, time, a train whistles through the far hills. One day, I plan to be riding it.
And now our final recitation from Upstream Learning in Glen Allen. Welcome back, Silas Summers.
Y2K by Therese Lloyd. When I was in despair, the dark days when I actually used such terms, I noticed the behavior of animals. Sleep when tired, eat when hungry. That made a lot of sense to me, and yet I felt different. I felt my humanness too much. No fly ever wonders whether it should make lots and lots of maggots. It gives birth on a mound of cat food or inside the rubbish bin. As far as I know, it's not worried about overpopulation or what sort of environment its kids will grow up in. My humanness sees me at an art gallery, watching others, watching walls. My humanness gives me dark thoughts of cruel behavior. You are in the States, a visa glitch, and there you remain. Like Star Trek, I talk to you on a screen, your face a half a second out of sync with your speech. I'm in the future. My Tuesday is already over, and I want to tell you all about it to prove my superiority. That's a lovely conceit of time that saw people travel from all over the world to be in Gisborne for the first sunrise of the new millennium. Remember how we all thought that the sewer pipes would burst and the criminals would escape or something like that? Y2K packs sent to every household because no one knew for certain what the numbers 2000 really meant. Somewhere, people, important people, cowered in bunkers, fearing the worst.
You did it. You really did it. It's done. That's right. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. You deserve that. Okay, so now I'm going to invite Amanda Filori up to the stage. And we're going to highlight each competitor. So will Brielle Lawrenson please come up? Smile at the camera.
Okay.
All right. Matanga. Smile. Eleanor Candle. Graham Granger. Caitlin Stiles. Madeline Bremer. Mina Yee. Silas Summers. Thea Person. And Violet Bowie. I am so impressed with all of you. I hope that you feel so proud right now. You did it. You made it through the state championship. How about another round of applause? Incredible, remarkable work. I hope that all of you go home feeling so proud of what you have done tonight. And now I'm going to announce the runner-up and winner for the 2023 Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition. Beginning with the runner-up. The runner-up receives $100 and $200 for their school, and that is Violet Bowie. And now the winner of the 2023 Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition, receiving $200 and an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. with a chaperone for the national championship. The winner is Brigitte Tang. While they're up here, I do want to say a special thanks to the parents and families of our State Poetry Out Loud finalists and all Alaska Poetry Out Loud coordinators. With recognition of the coordinators at the schools represented in the Alaska State Finals, Nicole Metzger, Port Allsworth. Of course, these are the, yes, Rachel Kitto and Rachel Stepful, Anchorage. Tim Shumway, Petersburg. Joseph Connor, Wasilla. Corinne Marks and Chris Knight, Juneau. Elizabeth Alexander, North Pole. Kent Fielding, Skagway. Mark Proch and Teresa LaVille, Glen Allen. Suzanne Bishop, Homer. Special thanks once again to our judging panelists, Phil Hibshin, Misty St. Clair, Amy Brautiainen, Rachel Disney, and Scott Burton. We are so grateful for you serving. Applause and gratitude to our State of Alaska Poetry Out Loud state coaches, including Dina Sharpley, Donnie Gott, Aaron Tripp, Flordolino Longandino, and Mickey Kenny. And of course, thank you to KTOO for hosting us, to Juneau Afternoon for sharing about the program, to photographer Ron Gile, and a big thanks to the Board of Trustees and staff of the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, and to our State Poetry Out Loud coordinator, Amanda Filori. And yes, I'm going to announce another round of applause for all of our finalists. And a big round of applause for Brigitta Tonga. Thank you once again for an amazing, inspiring night, and we invite everyone to join us next door at the Prospector for a celebratory dinner, which you all deserve. See you next year.
The Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition is made possible by the Alaska State Council on the Arts, the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Poetry Foundation.